not just inside the property, but also in the surrounding communities. Not only did they want to provide a resilient space for their own building residents where they could be safe in the event of an emergency, in the event of a power outage, but they also wanted a way to support the surrounding community.
On the spending affordability guidelines for our colleagues, we need to do this by the the second Tuesday of February each year. So the deadline for that is this Tuesday coming up, February 11th. As a reminder, Section 20-61 of the County Code states that for setting the spending affordability guidelines for the operating budget, the Council should consider, among other relevant factors, the condition of the economy, the level of economic activity in the county, trends in personal income, and the impact of economic and population growth on projected revenues. So during today's committee session, we will review those items that are outlined in the packet, and we are welcoming members of the Office of Management and Budget and Department of Finance today, and I will turn it over to Mr. Howard to get us started.
All right, thank you. So we'll walk through each of the different sections of the staff report, first with the economic conditions and kind of stop there for any questions or discussion, and then walk through each of the decision points and stop at each one as we have done in the past. So first, on page 2 of the staff report, we have a summary of the December fiscal plan update, which I won't go over in detail because you just had a big conversation about that recently, but a reminder that it shows an upward revision of total tax-supported revenues across the 6-year period, driven by updated economic data indicating that the economy will avoid the mild recession assumed in the previously approved fiscal plan. However, potential actions and decisions at the federal level could have negative impacts on Maryland and Montgomery County that diverge from the national economy as a whole. And there are certainly probably as many, if not more, questions now than there were in December when we had that discussion. Starting on page 3, we have data on the condition of the economy. And the first data point is unemployment rate, where we note that the unemployment rate has increased year over year in the region and in the county. Regionally, the metro area's unemployment rate increased from 2.8% in October 2023 to 3.1% in October 2024. And BLS estimates that the county's unemployment rate increased year over year from 2% to 2.9% from October to October. As a comparison, the pre-pandemic unemployment rate for the region was 2.9% in February 2020. Regional indicators show an improved economic outlook, albeit with uncertainty due to potential federal changes, and this kind of mirrors what we talked about in December for the county's economic outlook. The county's resident employment has increased, but the growth rates for resident employment remain well below the pre-pandemic levels. Resident employment projects to increase by 0.3% from 2023 to 2024, and this will continue at an average annual rate of 0.3% through 2030 based on current projections. Prior to the pandemic, the growth rate was closer to 2%. Section C presents data on level of economic activity in the county. The inflation rate has stabilized over the past 2 years, slightly above 3%. Compared to the 4% and 6.6% in the years prior. Slight decreases in inflation expected in 2025. However, changes in federal policies may impact inflation going forward, so that will be an area that we will have to see as things move along. One other data point to share is that the Employment Cost Index, which measures inflation and compensation costs, was 4.7% for state and local governments as of September 2024, a slight decrease from 4.8% in the prior year. The county's office market continued to experience high vacancy rates in 2024, where there is some changes in average rent, that those varied by type of space. So the average gross rents for Class A office space increased by 2.8% from 2023 to 2024, while the vacancy rates increased from 19.1% to 21.7%. For Class B office space, the average gross rents increased by 0.4%, while the vacancy rates increased from 15.2% to 16.2%. And then home sales and sales prices both increased in 2024, with further increases expected in 2025. And additionally, the assessed values for both residential and commercial properties increased substantially. Finance does estimate increased home sales in 2024, and this is the 29.9% is primarily a result of the change in economic assumptions, and home sales are anticipated to grow by 3.1% in 2025. The median home sales price is projected to grow by 5.7% in 2024, and the median sales price is expected to grow by another 4.2% in 2025. And SSTAT released the most recent triennial property assessments for Group 1, and those properties experienced an average 18.2% increase in property values. Those are for residential properties, while commercial properties increased an average of 14.1% increase in property values. And that's important because that means that tax bills for residents will increase just purely based on the assessment increases alone. Section D, trends in personal income. There was total personal income and wage and salary increases, but those increases are projected to be at smaller rates in 2024 than in 2023, and then increase again in 2025. So this is kind of an interesting data point, and we'll get more into it when we talk about the different options. But for personal income, finance estimates the growth will be 1.0% in 2024, which follows a 6.4% increase in 2023, and then you have projected increases of 4.3% in 2025 and 2026. So the data point for 2024 appears to be a little bit of an outlier when you compare to the prior year and then the projections for the future years. Wage and salary income increased by 2.4% in 2024, lower than the 4.3% growth in 2023, but then it is projected to increase again in 2025 and 2026. The COLA for Social Security recipients will be 2.5% in 2025, which is a little bit lower than it's been in the prior years, and that's always a data point that the committee has looked at as part of this process as well. And then the last section, Section E, is just other relevant factors, a little bit of a grab bag here. The population increase is estimated to be about 0.6%, or 6,800 residents a year for the next couple of years. Federal Reserve did cut interest rates twice in 2024 compared to 4 in 2023. It's unclear what the Federal Reserve will do going forward. And then we have a data point on the state of Maryland's structural deficit, which the council has talked about a bit in December and in other instances as well, and how that could impact the county. And obviously we've seen in the governor's budget some cost shifts that he is recommending from the state to the county. So things like that could impact us as well. So I'll stop there to see if there's any questions on the economic data.
Councilmember Katz?
Is that a one? Yeah, okay. I always love the seventh floor. On page 4, first off, thank you very, very much for your, as always, most informative packet. On page 4, you talk about the gross rents for commercial. And let me go back to page 4 for myself here. Does that mean, though, because we have the very high vacancies, does that mean gross rent that they, in the spots where they can rent the building, that's has increased, but the overall that they're still losing money, or it's not making anything for them because of all the vacancies? How's that working?
Well, that's a little bit of a separate question, and I don't know. I can't speak to how different properties are, how their vacancy rates and their rents impact their ability to make money or not. But this data is just hard data on what the actual rents are that people are paying for their property. So it is very possible that rents increased for a certain commercial property, but because of high vacancy rates, the building is
still underwater.
Still underwater.
Yeah. Okay. And I think that's significant for us to keep in mind, because the question is, what does gross mean in that case? Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you, ma'am.
Councilmember Friedson?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, just for that, my understanding is most commercial rents are multi-year rents, 5, 10 years. There's usually options on them, and there's usually an escalator in it, that reflects, because they're longer-term leases, different from residential, that tend to be set at a rate, and you have a 1-year or a 2-year lease, and then when the lease term expires, it goes to a month-to-month. It's different in the commercial setting. So I think the increases reflect the fact that there are just people encumbered in leases that aren't searching for a new lease, and unless you have a way to renegotiate the lease, which is difficult to do. If the gross rents weren't going up marginally, that would be a big problem. But there's still significant weakness in the commercial market, as we're seeing in other places around the region, around the country, not unique to here, but something that we need to be mindful of, as Councilmember Katz noted. First of all, thank you for this. I think it's really helpful for us to have the full picture. I think it's sobering. We just had the State of the State yesterday. The governor talked about the fiscal challenges. Prior to that, the Maryland Association of Counties had our meeting, and were briefed on the impact on counties. And there are a number of shifts from the state to the county that are going to cost us significant amounts of money. I think we need to be mindful of that. I also think we need to be mindful of the fact that we tend to be a lagging indicator of what's happening at the state. And so generally, we will see some of the things that the state is seeing, but we'll see it a little bit later than they will. And I think we need to be mindful of that. There's good news here that we're not projecting a mild recession. The so-called impossible soft landing, perhaps has happened, but there is a cliff of federal funding that has been eliminated that we'll no longer see, and there is massive levels of uncertainty. And I don't need to go into all of the details of things that have happened in our community impacting our federal workforce just in the last few days that are deeply, deeply concerning, but the shockwaves that will send to our economy and the impact that will have on the county budget, not to mention the budgets of businesses and residents, is going to be significant. So as we go through this, I think we need to be really, really cautious and really, really mindful of it, and make sure that we are, as sober as we have been. I do think that one of the reasons why our reserves have been high is that we have been fairly conservative historically over the last several years in terms of what we project, and that has allowed us to come in a little bit healthier than anticipated. And I'm hopeful that we can continue to head down that path, but also be mindful of the fact that we're talking about growth here, and we have grown the county budget a lot, particularly the operating budget, a tremendous amount over the last several years. And so we need to be mindful of the percentage increases that we were talking about today. As we look at the historical numbers, are much bigger in terms of dollars than they had been before, because we have increased the operating budget at a significant level. So I just think we should be mindful of that. But I appreciate it, and this is, as always, a very thoughtful and very helpful discussion of where we are and how we put the pieces together to make these decisions.
Thank you. Just to pick up where Councilmember Friedson was discussing, and this is, I guess, a parallel conversation to the spending affordability guidelines, but since we have representatives from OMB and Finance here, did want to just kind of open it up for a moment to see what you all are thinking, the planning. I know we're getting asked a great deal of questions regarding the current state of the state's budget, the uncertainty at the federal level. As Councilmember Friedson said, our county in the last couple of weeks, particularly in the last week or so, with the impact on USAID and others, have seen a lot of our residents all of a sudden out of work. And just sort of wanted to open it up. Again, I understand this is sort of a parallel conversation to the spending affordability guidelines, but wanted to take this opportunity and see how you all are tracking things and anything you want to share at this time. Okay.
Nancy Feldman, Department of Finance. I wish that we had a crystal ball to know what really is going to happen, right? A couple of things. We're tracking employment. We've looked at history of revenues during recessions, sequestration, which has got some parallel to now. The state has been doing that as well, and how all of those things have impacted our revenues. No surprise, the history, other than the Great Recession, is income tax, transfer, and recordation tax are the things that get impacted. Transfer and rec first, because it's immediate. You lose your job, you don't buy a house, for example, assuming there's a house on the market. Income tax has a lag because it's a tax year issue. We have not analyzed individual agencies or departments for a couple of reasons. Number one, we have aggregate employment numbers, which exclude many federal employees. They don't report our NSA or other employment at those individual security type agencies. So we're looking at the volatility of those. As it comes to income tax, we understand our variances, and the question that we're working with the revenue estimating group on as we come towards making our decision on what economic assumptions to use for the FY26 budget are what to build in and what to have a plan B for, as opposed to guessing what is going to happen specifically. So here's just one little item, right? If many employees, as reported in the news just this morning, the Washington Post had a number of how many have accepted this go home but be paid till September. Most of that will be in the following tax year from an income tax perspective. So they'd still be employed, still be paying taxes to us during most of calendar year 2025. And then if those affected employees haven't chosen to either retire or are able to get another job, unemployment benefits would potentially follow that period. So there are lags for that. As we all know, income tax and property tax together make over 90% of our operating budget, separate from our proprietary and enterprise funds. So those are the two things that we are really carefully monitoring.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. And as far as the budget pressures are concerned, when we discussed the 6-year fiscal plan update back in December, we did communicate there are going to be some significant budget pressures as we're putting together the FY26 budget. That's becoming even more acute as we have moved along through the rest of through January and now into February. Our preliminary analysis of the Governor's Budget Reconciliation and Financing Act shows that about $23 million in expenditures will be pushed onto Montgomery County from the state. That's our preliminary analysis. I don't want to, it's not our final one. Yeah. And then there's going to be an impact of about $10 million on revenues from the BRFA. I know there are other changes going on at the state with regard to the budget, as well as the governor's income tax changes, et cetera, that I think still need to be evaluated. But those are our initial analysis of the Budget Reconciliation and Financing Act. And then in addition to that, there's just a great deal of uncertainty with regard to federal grants, as I'm sure you're very much aware. So that's just kind of a wait and see at this point what happens to those particular grants. But we are doing an evaluation and taking a look at that, and at least working with the Office of Intergovernmental Relations, the County Executive's Office, to at least try to get a sense of what they think will be happening.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate that update. And, as always, keep us updated as you're receiving information. And Mr. Howard, I guess we'll turn it back to you to continue going through the packet.
So I'll start back again at the bottom of page 4 in section 2 of the staff report, where we'll actually go into the decisions on the SAG for FY26. There's 3 different areas you need to make decisions on. First, the ceiling on property tax revenues. Second, the ceiling on the aggregate operating budget. And third, the aggregate operating budget recommendations broken down by agency and other non-agency spending. So first, on page 5, section A is the ceiling on property tax revenue. Section 305 of the Charter, as amended in November 2020, requires an affirmative vote from all 11 council members to exceed the real property tax rate from the prior fiscal year. The council's decision on the SAG guidelines is to specify the ceiling on the real property tax revenue for FY25. So council staff recommends, as the council has done in previous years, setting the ceiling on real property tax revenue based on the real property tax rate approved for FY25, and this is also what's assumed in the December 2024 fiscal plan. Regardless of what the council decides to set as this ceiling as part of this process, the final and actual decision will be made during your budget process.
Any questions or objections? Okay.
Okay. All right, Section B is the ceiling on the aggregate operating budget. And this sets, the ceiling sets essentially a benchmark for the upcoming FY26 budget process. The intent is to set an AOB that is generally affordable to county residents. Important to note that the AOB set by the council does not restrict the executive from recommending a budget that exceeds or is below the AOB threshold. And really what the ceiling on the AOB does is establish voting thresholds for your budget in May. If the council chooses to, in May, to approve a budget that exceeds the AOB that you set in February, then 8 votes are required to approve that budget. Regardless of where you set the AOB, if the council votes to approve an AOB that exceeds the rate of inflation, which is 3.25% for FY26, then 7 votes are required. If none of those factors apply, then only 6 votes are required to pass the budget in May. So the AOB and its elements are defined by law, but neither the charter nor the code specifies how to set the ceiling. That's essentially up to the committee to take a first crack at that, and then the council. The council has taken multiple approaches in setting the ceiling throughout its history, and Table 1, which is on pages 5 and 6, showed the method that the council approved for each year since FY12. There's been a variety of different methods. The most common factor that the council has used in setting the AOB is the total estimated rate of personal income growth. Other factors have been increasing by the rate of inflation, increasing by half the rate of total personal income growth, and a couple of years where there's been the COLA for Social Security was used, and then other, in 2022, for example, there was no increase because that was the year we were in their COVID budget, and there was just so much uncertainty. And of course, last year, the decision was to increase by the total rate of personal income growth, plus putting $80.6 million into the in current revenue for additional CIP expenditures. So council staff prepared 4 options that are gone into much more detail on page 9 of the staff report for consideration in setting the ceiling for FY26. And as we've said in the past, the reason we do this is to have multiple options for the public to comment on as part of the public hearing process. The committee can choose one of these options, or you can choose an option that is not on here at all. It can be any combination thereof. So the options we prepared were, first, option number 1, to hold the FY26 ceiling at the FY25 approved level, which would be a 0% adjustment. Option number 2 would be to increase the FY25 approved AOB by the estimated rate of inflation for 2024, which is a 3.25% increase. Option number 3 would be to increase the approved AOB by the estimated rate in average personal income for 2024, which is a 0.96% increase. And option number 4 would be to increase the FY25 approved AOB based on the estimated increase in the employment cost index for state and local governments, which would be 4.70% increase. Council staff, as part of the preparing the packet for the introduction and the public hearing, recommends that the committee consider establishing the ceiling based on option number 2, the estimated rate of inflation for FY 2024. This recommended method would set the ceiling at $6,594.7 million. We do know that the council has most commonly used the personal income growth in determining the AOB ceiling, but as kind of alluded to in the previous discussion, that number appears to be a little bit of an outlier compared to last year and what we anticipate going forward. It doesn't mean that it's not a valid option to choose, but council staff felt that the estimated rate of inflation is more closely aligned with the projected average annual revenue growth for the FY 26 through 30 period, 3.25% compared to 3.28%, and that reflected a reasonable place to start for the committee's discussion. If the committee was more interested in choosing an option that aligned with total projected revenue growth in FY26 only, that is 4.9%. So option number 4 would be more closely aligned with that number. So I'll turn it back over to the committee for questions or discussion.
Great. Councilmember Friedson?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, it's really helpful, obviously, to look at the breadth of decisions. I will say I always find it somewhat interesting that we pick and choose each year of what we want to use as the basis for the decision that we make, and I do think that it's a little bit of a dangerous game in the sense that we almost decide what we think is a reasonable number, and then we back into the basis as opposed to coming up with the basis and then using the number that reflects. So that does give me a little bit of heartburn. To be perfectly honest, I do think that the risk here is pretty much all to the negative at this point. Unfortunately, given everything that's happening, what we're seeing at the state level, what we're hearing and starting to see at the federal level, I mean, there's real risk, and it's very acute and specific to us, not necessarily just the macro level, national and international economic factors that we were thinking about and focusing on before, but very specific to Montgomery County, to Maryland, to the greater DC region. My personal preference would be to go a little bit more modest here and go for a lower number, but ultimately, I could go along if the committee wants to go to a kind of middle ground number. I think option 3 personally would be my individual preference if I was deciding and I was setting it myself. But I think if there is a middle ground option, I'd be open to that as well. But my personal preference would be option 3. But understand why council staff put forward what they did, and if that's where the body is, I could accept that.
Thank you. I think we may end in option 2 because, of course, as we do in government this committee, as always, is find that compromise among our members. I probably would have leaned towards option 4 if, looking at things. But given the conversation we just had about the uncertainty that we are facing right now, I do think option 2 is the more prudent one for us to move towards and appreciate the staff recommendation. Councilmember Katz?
Thank you. All well said, but I too am option 2. I think at the end of the day, that's the one that this, Nancy, you said earlier, we wish we had the ball that would tell us what's going to happen. Candidly, we're better off without it at this point. I really believe that we're every day's a new head shake for a variety of reasons in a variety of ways. But I think option 2 makes more sense. Thanks.
All right. So I think the committee formed a consensus around option 2.
Okay. Thank you. All right, and then the last section is the operating budget allocations by agency. A reminder, these allocations are illustrative and not final, even though you're required to do them. It doesn't tie both the executive or the council into these numbers as you discuss and approve the final budget when looking at your different decisions by agency. These allocations also do not create any supermajority requirements during the budget process. It's only the aggregate AOB number that has the different voting requirements. Over the past several years, the council has taken the approach of approving allocations for debt service and current revenue funding in the capital budget and OPEB that are in line with our current fiscal policies, and then approving allocations for MCPS and Montgomery College at the MOE levels, understanding that the decisions may be different in May. And there's lots of different factors that will still impact what funding we have available for the different education agencies, including state aid and things like that will be incorporated in here. So consistent with this historical approach, council staff has the following recommendations. First, for debt service, recommending putting debt service at $468.6 million, which is the value assumed by the executive branch in the December 2024 fiscal update.
No objection?
Okay. For current revenue in the capital budget, staff recommends setting the amount at $95.1 million for current revenue, and then $29.2 million for PAYGO, which are both consistent with the fiscal policies and the amounts assumed in the December 2024 fiscal update. I'll note that this does not prevent the council from providing additional resources during the budget process for current revenue in the CIP, as you did last year, and that option is still open to you during during the process in May.
Good, all right, no objection.
Retiree health pre-funding, or OPEB, staff recommends allocating the $62.1 million, which is assumed in the fiscal plan.
No objection.
Okay, and for the agency allocations, staff recommends MCPS and Montgomery College at maintenance of effort levels, and then allocating the remainder to county government and park and planning in proportion with their FY25 allocations. And also noting, we will include language in the budget, or sorry, not the budget resolution, the AOB resolution, that any additional allocations of state aid that come to any of the agencies don't impact their allocations under the AOB level, as well as noting that the agencies will have to submit, if they submit a budget that exceeds the AOB threshold, they have to submit a letter by March 31st, noting what they would do if the council approved a budget at that level.
No objection?
Okay, and that's it.
That is it, all right. Well, we can move this on to full council with our recommendations. Anything else? No, I think that is all. Our committee session is adjourned for the day. Thank you so much.
Eso es lo que estamos haciendo para aliviar la situación. Esto es algo totalmente necesario y esperamos que la gente, en vez de agarrar su vehículo para ir a su trabajo, que mejor agarre los autobuses que van a estar totalmente gratuitos. Van a pasar durante las horas pico cada 4 minutos y durante las horas no pico pasen cada 8 minutos. Va a ser un verano sumamente complicado por esta situación, pero juntos vamos a poder sobrepasar este reto.
Hola amigos, soy Gabriel Albornoz, miembro del Consejo del Condado de Montgomery. Soy el orgulloso hijo de inmigrantes de Sudamérica, de Ecuador y de Chile. Yo he vivido en el condado toda mi vida. Estudié en nuestro sistema de colegios públicos y después de eso fui a estudiar en la Universidad de Mérida.